Watch our show, Dil Se Expertise. Plan a good holiday. Founders of LCM, Let's Talk Money. Specific life goals. And we have guests on our show who are experts in the field. There's a lot more. Yay! So welcome back, and you liked it? Okay, good.
Very nice.
Little thing together. So thank you so much for coming in for today's Dil Se Expertise. Very warm welcome. Good evening. If we have not met, my name is Bhuvna Sriram. I'm a certified financial planner, a wealth manager, a teacher, a video blogger, mom, founder, CEO of Plan to Prosper. At Plan to Prosper, we help successful, busy corporate working professionals grow their wealth and generate enough passive income and build the best life for them with the money that they have. We've been doing these shows, the Dil Se Expertise shows, since the lockdown. In fact, we did shoot a few shows offline, the videos of which you saw. But since the lockdown started, this is our 8th show, Chandrika.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've had experts from various fields come in on entrepreneurship, on emotional intelligence, on succession planning, on derivatives. Last week we did cryptocurrencies, on loans, on should we take morat or no. So we've had all kind of people mostly trying to answer questions that are topmost in people's mind at this point in time. Most of these shows are available on all our social media handles, so please catch us here. And today we have Chandrika. So I'm very excited about today's session because I think we're touching on something that's topmost, that's relevant, that's worrying people, but it's also opening up a lot of opportunities. It's exciting in one way, it's anxious in another way. So Chandrika graciously accepted to join us for background. She's one of the guests. I mean, we've usually not invited anybody we've not worked with in the past. Usually if it's a succession planning or a derivative or anybody, we've worked with them. But Chandrika is someone we've not really worked with, but when we just reached out to her saying, can you please come on our show? She was very gracious and generous to come. I'm so thankful to you, Chandrika. Just to give you a very quick background, Chandrika done BA Honours Economics from St. Stephen's, and she went to IIM Bangalore, and she spent about 11-12 years with McKinsey before she ventured to become an independent consultant herself. She's worked in the healthcare sector, and she's moved on now on something interesting, which is like the gig economy, right? So Chandrika, right. we want to know more about the work that you do and what is your experience on gig economy. How did this big idea on doing this, because you started in 2014, and I'm sure gig economy was not a thing back then, right? So
no, you're absolutely right. Thank you, Bhuvana and Kajal, for inviting me to this session. Lovely to be here and discuss this with you all. So as you rightly said, I've basically been a management consultant by profession. I was a consultant for 17 years before I launched Flexing It in the middle of 2014. And the bulk of that time was spent with McKinsey. Post McKinsey, actually, I was an independent consultant for about 4 years. And the reason I opted to do that was I enjoyed consulting, but I didn't enjoy the travel anymore. Okay. So I, because as a partner, I was on a plane 4-5 days a week, and I was, 12 years of doing that had, got to me. So decided that it was probably time for a change. And so I still enjoyed consulting. So I decided, let me branch out and do my own consulting. For about 4 years, I did that, where I, gave 2 days a week still to McKinsey. They still wanted my time to consult with, our old clients. And with the rest of my time, I was consulting with a practice that I built up myself. And I found that it worked beautifully. I was able to work on, topics that I cared about with clients that I felt a connection with. My life and travel was much more under my control. That got me thinking that, there's probably a lot of professionals out there who at a certain stage in their career feel that they, want to be their own boss. They want a little bit more flexibility, but they still want to do good work. And they still want to do high quality, impactful work. And so I looked around and I saw that globally flexible work, independent work, gig work was already a big theme in 2013-14. And I'll be happy to share some of that data with you. But it was still something new for India. And also I found that there really wasn't a platform that was bringing projects through high quality professionals. So if you are, a marketing professional or a finance professional or a strategy consultant who now wants to work independently, really there was no place to go to find, high quality project opportunities for yourself. The job boards and LinkedIn honestly didn't solve for this segment. And so I felt there was a gap in the market. And so that really is what led to the launch of Flexing It 5 years ago. And Flexing It, for everyone's benefit, it's a curated platform and community of independent consultants whom we connect to assignments with clients around the world. So we, over the last 5 years have, carefully built a community of over 70,000 consultants.
Wow.
This is primarily in Asia. And we connect them to assignments through our technology and our team with about 3,000 clients around the world. And we cater primarily to mid to senior professionals. So the average experience level on our platform would be 10 years plus. Okay. Because what we realized is to really be consulting someone and adding value in a project or in a short time frame, you need to know your skill. So right. Whether it's a function, whether it's a sector, you need to have been through the trenches, in that space to be able to add value in a short time frame. So I think, you're absolutely right. When we started, I was probably the only one talking about it in India. Met with a lot of skepticism from especially corporates who were like, hadn't heard of this, weren't sure of what's the quality of talent available on a gig basis. And so over the years, we've used a lot of data, a lot of research to debunk many of those myths, to show that there's really high quality talent that is opting to now work on a flexible basis, on a project basis, and how you can work with them efficiently. But I think in the last 2 years, the narrative has completely changed. There's so much data now that has come from the West around what proportion of workforces are choosing to work independently and work on a gig basis, and that is starting to permeate India as well. And I think this current COVID crisis that we are unfortunately all of us going through is also going to lead to an acceleration in the trends we were already seeing. And driven by both sides, both companies as well as professionals wanting to explore gig, more and more. And so, yes, happy to be here.
Great, amazing. I think COVID is doing to your business what Demon did to Paytm, right? So just that accelerator, you already have something that's amazing, and that you need that time in history for it to take off. And I mean, while it's the better side of things, there is a way of looking at whatever we are going through otherwise. But what is your view on gig economy? You said last 2 years we've had some traction in India. It's been a thing worldwide. And how is it picking up in India? Are there any trends that you're seeing? Is there something that you want to share about?
Sure. If you'd like, I do have a couple of slides if that's of interest. I could share that, or I could just talk, whatever you prefer, Bhuvana.
Yeah. So if you have some slides, we'd be happy to see that.
Just give me a minute.
Yeah. You're already the host, so.
Oh. It's not connected.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good, great. Yeah.
Great. If everyone can see that. So just I'm not going to spend too much time on these slides, so we leave time for questions. But very quickly, the gig economy was already well here, even in 2015. So in the US, about a third of the workforce was engaged in some kind of freelance work in 2015. And they're projecting, by 2020, 2025 for that to actually cross, 50%. McKinsey did a research of all of the developed markets, EU economies, as well as the US, and found that 20 to 30% of the workforces in these countries were also engaged in some kind of independent work. 1/3 of all management consultants in the UK are freelance. And so these numbers are big, so globally, this has been a phenomenon for the last decade. And we actually saw a huge growth in the gig economy post the 2008 financial crisis. And typically black swan events have a tendency, to accelerate some of these underlying trends we see. And when you ask companies as well, a lot of them are planning to have gig workers, non-traditional workers be a sizable part of their workforces in the coming years. And so, at least some research that we did showed that about 2/3 of organizations are expecting that 1/3 or 30% of their workforces will be non-traditional in the next
Wow.
5 years. And these are
Okay.
substantial numbers, and this was pre-COVID. So, we'll see what the impact, post-COVID is. And I think some of the changes that we've seen take place in the last 3 or 4 years is that traditionally, freelancing was thought to be something that was, very much a solution for tech professionals, for creative professionals, for probably small non-strategic projects. So you had platforms like freelancer.com or a Fiverr where you could get a logo design for $5. That's how the name Fiverr came, or a TaskRabbit. Where you could, get small gigs, or odds and ends, and get your work done. But very non-strategic, basic work with low earning potential. So really didn't cater to professionals and to the white collar space. I think that has been a big change we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years, where freelancing actually has become very mainstream. And now we find that, you find freelancers in all the core skill areas, or all the core industries and functions that we are familiar with, whether it's strategy, marketing, finance, HR, technology. And now, freelancers and freelancing is becoming an integral part of how companies think about how they will get work done. And as a result, you have new platforms like Flexing It and several others who have come to organize, the space. And these are really high quality professionals who are deciding that this is the choice I'm making, that I want to work on my own. I want to take on projects, consult with a large number of companies through the course of the next few years. And they're building their own brand and their portfolio of work. So these are not, fungible resources that you can, or warm bodies that you throw, but these are genuinely independent professionals who are being pulled in for their skills and expertise to add value in a defined, time and space for an organization. And I know you asked the question of what's happening in India. And, while we are a few years behind what we see happening in the US and in Europe, it's changing very rapidly. Already, 25% of freelancers globally are from India. On global platforms, actually, that number is 40% plus of freelancers that are contributing to projects are actually from India.
25%? 25% of freelancers worldwide are Indians?
Yes. It's a lot. I mean, right now they're mostly on the tech and the creative side, but that's rapidly changing as, platforms like us come to give even mainstream professionals, management professionals, access to freelance opportunities. There are estimates that say that in the next 5 years, the gig economy in India would be like $30 billion worth. So that's substantial. So I think it's very much here, even, pre-COVID. Based on our experience over the last 5 years, we are seeing some segments emerge of who the gig workers or white collar gig workers are in India. I'll quickly talk through that. I mean, so there's a lot of management consultants who, after spending 10, 12 years in a Big Four or a McKinsey, like I did, decide that they want to go on their own. And they start working independently. So we see that a lot. Our biggest segment is what we call the corporate freelancers. And these are people who have worked, in large corporates for 10, 15 plus years, in core functions, built brands, built P&Ls, could be in, from an HUL, could be from a Maruti or a, Tata Steel, and are now decided they want to, work independently, for a while. Of course, we have young parents, both men and women, who need flexibility for a few years. And so, they decide to, become gig workers. We also see entrepreneurs, because a lot of, and, we've seen this big startup ecosystem develop over the last 8-10 years in India. And I think what that has also led to is more startup or entrepreneur freelancers, because in the early stages of building a business, you need to pay the bills. Everyone may not have VC funding, and so you do need to, earn some money to kind of pay the rent and the bills. And so we find a lot of early startup entrepreneurs do some projects on the side or in certain parts of the year to be able to, earn some money to be able to sustain while the business scales. We already talked about the tech freelancers, and we find that in many of the newer age skills like product and data science and UI UX, professionals are preferring, and millennials are preferring to freelance versus join companies, because they feel they'll get to do more exciting work and they learn more because of the variety. Of course, we have Moonlighters, so people who feel I have time in my job doesn't, completely utilize my time, so I can learn some skills or earn some extra money over the weekend or after that. And I think another very important segment that we've seen is the I wouldn't call them retired professionals, but the semi-retired professionals. So people in their 50s, even who've got like 20, 30 years of very high quality work and energy left in them, but may not want to work full time anymore. And so they are increasingly turning to working with, whether it's startups, whether it's NGOs or consulting firms, and coming on board as advisors, coming on board as consultants, for short durations. So I think we're seeing companies of, like people of all types turning to freelance, and it's a choice some people make for a few years before they decide what they want to do next. But it's also a choice that some people are making now for the rest of their career. So they're deciding that I want to work independently now for whatever productive life I have left. I just also wanted to highlight, this theme because I feel very strongly about this. We all know women's labor force participation in India is falling. So over the last decade, the number of working age women in India that are actually working fell to 24%. And the number is, and this is the worst, except for certain African countries. And so clearly not a place we want to be. China in comparison is 60%. So huge gap. And we find that the data actually shows that it's worse in urban areas. It's worse with more educated and richer households. So people, because there's no flexibility, people are opting out of the workforce versus deciding to look at freelance or project-based work as an opportunity. So we at Flexing It have a vision and a mandate also to get a lot more women in India to know that this exists as an option, so that instead of deciding to stay away from working, they can make work for them.
Lovely, I think.
And I think we have a little more data on, the types of projects. We see all kinds of companies wanting to hire gig workers, whether it's consulting firms, large corporates, startups. And there's a fair amount of flexibility in the projects as well that we see. It could be literally a few days of work if it's a very short targeted piece, all the way up to more strategic projects that are 6 months, where you're generally getting on board the freelancer to work with you on a transformation, a new entry strategy, a new organization structuring, whatever the issue might be. And again, I think there's no one size fits all. A lot of gig work can be on site as well as remote. So it really depends on what the project needs are and what the clients, what the consultants' preferences are. So it generally does provide a fair amount of flexibility to to individuals. And I think I did speak about Flexing It, but just as so we, as I mentioned, are a curated platform. We work with over 2,000 clients around the world, which are some of the world's largest consulting firms, some of the world's largest corporates like Unilever and Pfizer, and help them find consultants. We also have a lot of international clients because a lot of gig work happens remotely. So we are bringing India's talent to the world, in effect, through that. And the choice we made was to use technology a lot because that was the best way for us to scale. So, so we built up an end-to-end platform that, matches the right projects to the right consultants, helps you figure out what you should charge. We have a fee benchmarking tool, we have a project tracking tool, a feedback mechanism, invoicing and payment. So all of that kind of is enabled, through the platform. So I'm going to actually stop there, Bhuvana, and, and give it back to you to see if there were certain questions you'd want to cover.
Sure. So, I think this is like a huge leap of faith, right, for both industry and as well as individuals. So when industry says, how do you employ someone or how do you work with someone on some critical projects? Small projects, freelancers, it's okay, but then you're talking of critical projects without in the game, right? He's not a salaried employee. Does he have a skin in the game? What if he consults with competitors, right? I think they're making a huge leap of faith there. And from individuals also, when they say, okay, I'm giving up my PF, I'm giving up my superannuation, and then making that huge leap of faith in terms of that trust in themselves and their capabilities. I think that's that's come a really long way, and given the Indian working mindset, I think that's come a really long way. So if you can just share a little more about the kind of industries, the kind of projects that are most sought after, especially 1 minute. Chandrika, would you like to just stop sharing the screen?
Sure, sure.
Yeah, okay.
How do I do that? Oh, stop share.
Stop.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So we can see your face.
Right? That's fine.
Right. So we were talking about just before the session started, right? Like saying COVID and what kind of projects are coming up now. You were saying that both the supply side and the demand side, there's a spurt in activity. So why don't you tell us a little more?
No, absolutely. I think, so absolutely, I think it's a very unfortunate situation that we're all, living through over the last 3-4 months. And I really hope it settles down soon. But we have actually seen and are expecting to see a further growth in the gig economy as a result of this. And I think for a few reasons. The first is, past data also shows that when times are uncertain, when the economy is uncertain, when revenues, demand is uncertain, as is the case for many companies now. We don't know how long the recovery is going to take, how many years it might take for several industries and companies. People want to keep investments as contained as possible and keep costs as variable as possible. So unless they're absolutely sure, they're going to prefer to use a gig worker, they're going to prefer to use a freelancer or a consultant till they are 100% sure that, you know what, I need to add this team or I need to add this resource to my skill set. And we actually saw that, even after the 2008 crisis, where for the 5-10 years after that, all of the growth in the West was non-traditional jobs or gig jobs, not full-time jobs. And this, a black swan event is going to be worse than the 2008 crisis was. So we are expecting, because of that economic uncertainty, a lot more companies will, think long and hard and prefer to use consultants and freelancers till they can, until they know exactly how they want to use the employees they plan to add. I think the second driver, which is even more of a factor this time around, will be work from home. Over the last 3-4 months, the entire world has worked from home at scale, which at a level we've never ever done before, even close to this. And I think companies have realized that, it can be very efficient. As long as you think about work well, you plan it, roles are clear, deliverables are clear, remote work from home, distributed teams, gig, all works extremely well. And I think that's been an aha moment for so many companies. And so literally over the last, I would say 1 month, we have 30 new companies who reached out to us who were very hesitant to even try thinking about working in a different way, all saying we want to try new ways of working. And people are, because I think they've seen it. They've seen, that it does work very well, right? I think the third thing that we've seen is on the professional side, one, of course, is the unfortunate part of because of furloughs and layoffs that we start to happen, and being able to find a new job not as easy in the coming months. More and more people are considering and are signing up onto freelance platforms, and we've seen a huge spike in the last 2-3 months. But even more than that, what we're hearing from professionals is a change in their mindset, because I think what they're realizing is that what we thought is a stable job is not a stable job. Because anything can happen. Your industry could get disrupted. Your next round of funding may not come. COVID and similar things could happen, in which case entire divisions, entire teams, 30, 40, 50% of companies in very well-funded companies are just being laid off. And so I think that's led to a lot of people think and start to reflect on, I need to be in charge of my own professional development and my own skilling. I need to know what is it that I know, what is my expertise. So if I have a situation like this, and for 2 years, I have to be an independent consultant, what will I market? What will I monetize? And so we've got a lot of people who are now thinking about this. And the data actually shows that once people start working independently, 70% of them don't go back to working in a job.
No way.
Because they enjoy it, they like the flexibility, they like the impact. So we are actually seeing, because both are changes on the company side, as well as on changes on the professional side, both positive and negative, we are seeing huge demand spikes on both sides. So we are seeing a lot of consultants sign up and start exploring working independently and working on their own. And a lot of companies as well now exploring new ways of working, and also therefore we're seeing demand grow for freelancers and for gig workers.
Coming of age moment for India's professionals, right?
I think so, and I think it's healthy. I think because genuinely, and it's not only about freelance professionals. Personally, all of us here have probably worked 20, 25 years at least. and you realize that I have, I graduated from my MBA in 97, so it's been 23 years for me. And you realize that after your mid-40s, jobs are not that easy to come by anyway. Because CXO positions, CEO positions are getting younger and younger. So I think millennials are thinking about freelance work, older professionals are thinking about freelance work, and also people who are affected by all of this are thinking about freelance work. So I think it has become much more accepted. And genuinely, I think it's a real choice that's available to a lot of people, and more people will opt for it.
Great. Okay. So while you were talking about the companies wanting to only pay for what's critical, what's important, and what is value add in their business, right? So what is it that companies are willing to pay for right now? And I'm sure they don't want flab. They don't want all the extra weight around. They want to focus on just what's important. It's okay. We just want to focus on what's important for the company and what is really value add. So what are specific skill sets that companies are looking for and willing to pay for right now? So, I mean, in our audience, if there are people with those kind of skill sets, it will give them hope. So.
No, absolutely. So I think one theme that we've seen across the board is anything that has to do with digital and technology is in high demand.
Okay.
So whether it's thinking about how I take my customer experience online, if you're an FMCG company or even a healthcare company, a lot of your customer engagement now is happening online, which you're not equipped for. So how do I think through that, right? What are my touch points with them? How do I revamp my app, my website, my entire value chain and supply chain so that I'm able to engage with them end-to-end online? So I think anything to do with digital is something that we're seeing, huge demand for currently. We are seeing a lot of demand for marketing professionals because again, people are having to rethink, how do I get my message out? I think with all of us being online, all of us, working from home so much more, there's a big focus on content and using that to engage, customers, whether you're B2B, primarily, in fact, if you're B2B or enterprise, because you have your audience's eyes and ears a lot more than you would have had. And there are frankly no offline events happening. So we're finding a lot of demand for marketing skills of all kinds, of restructuring. So people are rethinking their business models. So how will my supply chain work? In an environment where I can't plan that well, how will I think about investments? So just rethinking the fundamental business model, rethinking growth plans. So both turnaround specialists, people who've been general managers and built brands and P&Ls are in big demand. Strategy consultants are in demand. We also have a lot of demand for finance and CFOs right now, because a lot of younger businesses, in fact, even bigger businesses, are having to rethink financial forecasts for the next several years. So how do they cut costs? What must be retained? What can be done away with or postponed? How can you restructure debt? So a lot of demand for finance skills of all kinds, and then HR. Because for companies that are not as affected, by the downturn and by the pandemic, the focus is now, how do we keep employee engagement up? How do we keep productivity up when everyone's just around the country and not able to interact with each other socially? So there's a big focus on employee engagement, productivity. But for companies who are affected, there are challenges around what's the right org structure that I want to go for. How will I humanely manage the layoffs that I do need to make? So there's a huge, demand for HR skills and organizational skills, of all kinds. So we're seeing, and then of course, data and analytics, because again, I think there's a bigger need than ever to understand customer data in different ways. And use that to take decisions on products, segmentation, how to reach them better. So we are seeing, in addition to the digital and tech skills, analytics and data science also be in huge demand.
That's like the whole platform, right? It's all
of
it.
Yeah. So honestly, we are seeing demand for all types of skill sets. I think the thing that what we are noticing is that people are preferring experience at this moment, because they want to get practical advice. Because genuinely they want to take decisions on what can be done, what can't be done. So people who've been through it before is what they're expecting. Of course, the topics they're working on are different. So, perhaps a year ago, the same consultants may have been working on much more ambitious growth plans for the next 5 years. I don't think anyone's looking at the next 5 years right now. They're worried about the next 2 years and making sure they obviously do enough to stay ahead of competition. But so I think that the skills are all the skills are in demand. It's just different topics that they're working on.
So, but then people who have worked in traditional companies, like, for example, if I've been an HR manager in some company and I've been doing traditional HR, payroll management, AO, sab kuch, and now I'll have to upskill myself, right? So I'm not going to be, it's not that I'm going to know how to handle employees working from home now and how to manage their emotional upheavals now. It's something that I've not gone through myself too. So, what people who worked in traditional industries, how should they upskill themselves? How should they make themselves relevant so that they get picked for projects?
So I think, a few things that I would suggest for anyone who's considering working as an independent consultant. I think the first is you need to sharply know what you know well. So I think that has to be, because and that as employees, and I was guilty of that myself, having, when I was working for 12 years, you never worried about, my updating your CV. You never worried about, what are my 3-4 skills that I particularly do very well, right? I think that's very important.
That's for the boss to know.
Sorry?
We've always thought that's for the boss to know what work to get
absolutely,
from me, right?
But I don't think we can do that anymore, right? So I think if you're an HR professional, it's very important to know, okay, fine, you may be an HR BP, but what are those 4 things within HR that you like doing and you're good at doing? And that will help you stand out. It might be that you're very good at performance management and thinking through, performance management, right? It might be that you're very good, or you like thinking about, talent acquisition and talent engagement processes. So you have to really think through what are the aspects of your function and your role that you enjoy and that you're good at, and highlight those. So that I think is very important. You also need to understand what the market is right now. And so we are constantly in touch with the professionals on our platform, and we are hearing. So, for instance, many HR consultants have told us that last year the big focus was on, as I mentioned, talent acquisition. Now it's employee engagement. So they are having to really rethink and come, and in fact sometimes even upskill through Coursera or some of these courses to make sure they're relevant, but also repackage. Sometimes they may have done that project in the past, but it's just not visible on their profile or on their CV, or they're not actively pitching for that. You need to start doing that. So I think one is you need to look at what you know well, what's your expertise, but also what the market is right now. And how you want to deliver that. So we have a lot of other consultants right now who are delivering a lot of their strategy engagements remotely and through Zoom workshops and through negotiation workshops online, which otherwise would have been 30-40% physical kind of workshops, right? So I think the first step is know what you know and what you like, know what the market is. I think the next thing is you need to think through your BD strategy or business development strategy very well. Because there will be a combination of your networks, prior employers, clients who will be relevant. Also platforms like Flexing It, and there are others as well globally that are doing this. You need to make sure you pick the 1 or 2 things that you're going to do from a BD perspective and go after it. So what we always tell our consultants is, that first project is very important because it builds confidence. It also gives you base load. So figure out where that first project is going to come from, whether it's your network, whether it's a platform, because once you get that first project going, then, then the virtuous cycle honestly starts happening, because, then the platform knows you deliver well, you've got good feedback, they start matching you to more projects. The confidence of the consultant builds up, to go out and kind of sell their services a lot more. And I think it is good to have a partnership mindset with the platforms that you're working with, because what we've seen is that there generally is a virtuous cycle. So the advisors or the consultants who do more projects with us, with our clients, and do a good job, will get matched to more projects, because we know them, clients know them, they get repeat work, they get matched to more assignments, and we start helping, and platforms start helping them proactively sell their skills, because that's one thing, again, most of us at more senior levels are actually not very comfortable with, because we feel our work should speak for ourselves. Why should we have to? And that's a big mindset shift of a consultant versus an employee. Each time you're going for a project, you're effectively selling yourself. So having a platform that's genuinely a partner for you helps in that, because they are able to market your your profile. They're able to suggest you to clients for a particular strategic project, and then you just basically go for the meeting or the call, and anyway you will then impress them, right? So having so I would always suggest pick one or two platforms that you're going to invest behind. Rather than having your profile across multiple, where it's a much more transactional relationship. I think the success is always better if there are 2-3 networks that you're more closely plugged into, where you invest in building a high quality profile, you build relationships with the team so that they know when you're available, what kind of projects you want to do, and can help you proactively, sell your business, sell your services and your skills. And I think there is demand. There is demand. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very hopeful, and I think it's brilliant the way you're saying. Understand what your skills are, know what you're going to good at doing, and then partner with these platforms. Now, just help us understand, for many people who are moving from like salaried jobs and they going into consulting, they don't really know their pricing, right? They don't know how much to charge and how to go about it. Like how you say, if the first project is important, then probably their confidence will go up. What do you see? What kind of trends do you see? Do consultants actually make as much as their last drawn salary, or do they do better? Or how long does it take for them to catch up?
So, experienced consultants, particularly, a couple of years in, will make more than they made in their last drawn salary. Really? Yes. I'm saying experienced consultants who are proficient.
In the first 3 months, 6 months itself, is it?
No, in the first couple of years, I would say. So some might even make it in the first 3 to 6 months, but I'm just saying more expected is in the first year and a half, you will be, making, as much, if not more than you made in your previous job. On a per day basis, you actually make more because you don't get benefits. Like for instance, in a job, we all had, health insurance, you have PF, the company invests in your time, in your training and development and professional development. All of that doesn't happen. And instead, as a consultant, you may not be working all 22 working days in a month. You might be working, let's say, 18 days in a month. And so the fee is factored over a fewer number of working days in a year. So on a per day basis, actually, you're going to be earning more than you would earn and you should expect to earn more than you earned as an employee. And companies know that. They know that consultants are only working with them for a defined duration or a certain number of days. So they expect to pay a premium over full-time employees. So at least a 30% premium is expected. And of course, once you establish yourself in the field and in your domain and you've got projects under your belt, you can start commanding more than that as well.
Okay. But there is competition amongst the professionals to bag projects, is it? Or do you have a ranking system?
Typically the way it works in most platforms is because you will have some sort of matching, and which technology will do the first level of matching, but that takes into account many things. It takes into account prior experience, so what kind of roles you've held, where you've worked. It takes into account the skill fit. So if you're looking for someone who's done, let's say, API manufacturing in pharmaceuticals, and has worked in Indian generic companies, just to take a detailed example. So to what extent and how many years of experience do you have in that versus perhaps in an MNC? So it will take into account your experience, the exact skill fit. It will take into account the feedback. So, prior clients, what have they said about you? And so on. So all of that gets factored in. And then, of course, things like capacity, because some consultants may only want to work, let's say, 20 hours a week. They've decided, I've got maybe one other project going. I don't have time to give my full time. Versus a project requires for 1 month a full time, time commitment. So those kinds of things are also included in the matching to identify the perfect fits. So let's say we'll identify the 10-15 perfect fits for a particular assignment, and then our team will check with them. Are you interested? Are you available, for this assignment? Because people also have commitments. Some of them are already doing projects currently and so on. So usually, at least in a high quality platform, it's not like a LinkedIn or a Naukri where hundreds of CVs or profiles are being sent. So we will suggest 3 people.
Okay.
we think are particularly relevant, because also, for experienced professionals, which is what Flexing It focuses on, the skill is very important, the fit is very important to a particular assignment. So it's not like saying 20 CVs or marketing bhej do and let the client pick, right? We will actually, between our technology and our account managers, do a careful job. So we'll send 3 options, and from which one person will be picked. For sure. And typically, a lot of it also depends on then the conversation the consultants will have with the client, because especially if it's a more strategic piece of work, then the client will want to understand how is the consultant thinking about it, how will they approach it. Because if it's, let's say, a 6-month project where genuinely they're going to take decisions based on the advice or the support they get from the consultant, they'll want to make sure there is a wavelength match beyond the expertise and the fit match. So we will do our role will be to make sure that the right 3 people from our side that we believe are the strongest based on experience, fit, past feedback, are introduced to the client, and then of course they will speak to the client, and the final decision is taken. And then we are there to help. So we are a partner end to end for both sides. So once the client likes a particular professional or a consultant for a role, we are there to help negotiate as well. So and very often the consultants reach out to us saying, how much should I charge for this?
Correct.
Because I'm not quite sure. Because particularly if, you might not know what the market is. What are other people charging, particularly if you're a newer consultant. So we will guide, so we have a fee benchmarking tool as well on our platform, which has now over 3.5 lakh data points, which from all projects done through Flexing It. So we have a lot of information on, okay, if it is like a branding project with HUL, as an example, a 15 years experience person, this was the range. So it starts giving people ideas, okay, fine, that if, a similar project was X, I can maybe be X plus 20%. So we help you, with data to price. We also help you and give you feedback on your proposal if you'd like, so that you have the best chance of, getting a project. And then of course, we help with all the contracting and the payments. And that again, we find is actually a very valuable thing a platform can do for independent consultants and freelancers. Because if you're an individual and you're contracted directly by, say, a large company, you're then treated like any other vendor. And typically vendor terms, and we've all been on the other side, are 60 to 90 days. Now, that's a very long time to wait for effectively what is your salary or your fee, which you need to spend. So, but when a platform like a Flexing It is negotiating on behalf of all the clients or the consultants we will deploy, we bring that down to like 7 days or 15 days. In addition, our finance team is following up, so that our consultants don't have to, chase a client's finance team for payment, which is a huge issue as well. Because, and I think surveys have shown that I think 60% of freelancers around the world have had some occasion or the other of not getting paid,
Not
so
getting paid and spending time following up for payments.
No, absolutely. So which is why that headache also. So in addition, so I think for professionals, we're very thoughtful about how we want to be helpful. So we help them obviously get projects, help them in marketing so that we, position them well with prospective clients. We help them with pricing and how they should think about the fees for a project. And then we are there on the operational side to chase the finance guys for these big clients to kind of get the money out so that they can be paid, on time. So which is why we find that, for us, consultant loyalty, engagement is very important. So we also make a lot of effort to help them build their brands. So if they want to publish content in their area of expertise, or if they, or if we get invited to attend a workshop and consultants have to go present on a certain topic, we make those, we are doing this all the time for our consultants, because we genuinely want them to, build brands in their areas of expertise, because that helps them, that helps us.
Okay. Yeah. So if the audience have questions, please put it on the chat box so we can get more out of whatever Chandrika has to share. Meanwhile, as we get the questions, a couple of things that came into my mind was when employers, do they have this no compete and stuff like that? Yes. Is that something that they insist on?
No. So I think that is also very important for both sides, and independent professionals actually take it very seriously, because if you've decided that this is now going to be my career, I'll be working as a freelancer or an independent consultant. Your prior client is a big source of business for you. So you want to make sure that in addition to adding value in the topic and the sector you went to consult on, professionally as well and ethically as well, you're doing the right thing. So, independent professionals are very cognizant that they have to make sure that if there are non-competes, confidentiality, that all must be adhered to. And again, that's again another role that the platform can play for the benefit of both sides. So we can make sure that the contract is not one-sided. Firstly, in the interest only of the client, and secondly, we make sure that the IP, the data confidentiality, non-competes are all in place, so that both sides are protected and they are satisfied even before they start the work. And usually the way it works is that our clients have an umbrella agreement with flexing it. Because typically with many of our large clients, there are 30, 40 advisors being deployed at any one point. So then those individual contracts are taken care of, by flexing it.
Okay. No, but that is with the existing employers or the ex-employers, but even between multiple projects that a consultant is doing, or do you ensure that they don't take competing projects?
No, so absolutely. So, so we work a lot with our biggest 3 segments of clients are consulting firms. So we work with all the strategy firms, the big 4. The second big segment is large corporates like Unilever, Genpact, and the third segment is investors for themselves or their portfolio companies. And for all of them, confidentiality is very important. So we make sure at our end that if, let's say, a consultant X has done a project with one consulting firm, for a certain period of time, they are not matched to a similar project with another consulting firm. So even if the consultants are not aware, we make sure from our side the matching is those walls are maintained, because that's important. And honestly, that is one of the other themes that we are seeing, is that for companies, having a trusted partner is is very important. So I think trust is an important thing for both sides, for the consultants as well as the companies, and particularly post COVID, it's going to get even more and more important, especially as people are going to be doing more and more remote work. And so the fact that so platforms that curate both sides, so the consultants as well as the project, so that there's no fly-by-night company that's not going to pay on the platform, right? Similarly, the consultants are all vetted consultants, gives a lot of confidence to both sides that we are dealing with a professional platform. We're going to find the right types of projects for our skills, and vice versa on the platform.
Okay. So we have a question from Arun. He says, I'm running a small HR consulting company to get ourselves prepared for the gig economy. Kindly advise points, areas to prepare ourselves to meet future demands. So as a HR consulting firm, what are things that we should do to be prepared for the future?
So, I would tell Arun that HR actually is in huge demand currently. As I mentioned, a lot of companies, both big and small, are looking for, firstly, help to deal with the current period. So whether it's to do with org restructuring and org redesign with maybe a flatter workforce, or how to handle layoffs and furloughs in a humane manner, those are topics in high demand. Also, work from home policies. We're getting a lot of demand from companies, both startups as well as larger companies, on can you help us put down work from home policies? Can you help us define when we come back into office, what are the SOPs for that? So I think there's a lot of immediate requirements that over the next 6 to 12 months will be there, where HR consulting firms are going to be in high demand and HR skills are going to be in high demand. And then and of course, areas like employee engagement. There's a lot of people who are reaching out to us also and, saying that, do you have solutions for how do I ensure, I can, the Zoom and Slack and all that is there, but that's not the human factor, right? So what's a good way to, and a rhythm for teams and departments to be engaging and working collaboratively with each other, which we were able to do in the office. So I think solutions and programs for employee engagement and making sure the mental health of employees is maintained will be in high demand. So I think what I would suggest is, based on the the partners or the team members that are there in the consulting firm, to almost productize the 4 or 5 areas where you can offer help. And we find that if you can productize very clearly and say that, okay, in 2 weeks, I can help you come up with, your SOPs for coming back to work, or I can help craft, coaching program, which is driven primarily remotely. That will find a lot of takers, because I think people are looking for solutions, and HR is one of those places where they are looking for solutions. So if you can make it bite-sized, come up with your areas and modules that you can do, there will be a lot of demand for your services.
Great. Great, amazing. I think, Arun, those were very pertinent, very relevant to the point response. Sudhir is asking how clients, how are they comfortable about the confidentiality? How are clients comfortable? I mean, not really the consultants, but how are clients comfortable with this consultants' confidentiality agreements?
So I think it's a very good question, and that is a question we spend a lot of time giving comfort to our clients around. So I think there's a few steps that we take to make sure that clients have comfort around that. First of all, as I mentioned, we curate our consultant pool on Flexing It. So, we know who these people are. They go through an approval process before they're empaneled with us. We suggest they get feedback from prior, clients or prior bosses. We have a background verification and a reference check option, which either they themselves can get done or we can get done or clients can request. So we have a lot of information about all our consultants. So a company, when they come to Flexing It, they're not going to get like a random CV, which nobody knows is fake or real or who this person is. So I think that gives, firstly, a big source of comfort to the clients we work with. The second, thing is that we have a very strong red flagging mechanism. So if we find, in the few instances where even there's unprofessional behavior during the interview stages, so people don't show up. Normally, we don't find that because when you're talking about mid to senior professionals, we don't find this a lot. But if we do have, instances like this, we actually red flag and take consultants off the platform, and our clients know that. So I think they have a lot of trust that the people that we're getting are curated, vetted consultants, which gives them confidence. The second is all the contracts we have in place. Our clients have vetted the contracts we do with consultants as well, and they have strong, clauses. They have strong, protections for confidentiality, data, and all of that. Having said all of that, a contract is a contract, and this is India. So, so I think what is important for all of us to realize is all of these independent professionals are very concerned about their reputation, because as I mentioned, these are not, freshers. These are people 10 years plus, 15 years, 20 years plus. They're doing projects with good companies, with a Unilever, with a GSK, with a BCG. So they know that, they need to not only add value on the project, but they need to do that with integrity at the higher standard. And then they know they'll get repeat work, both through that client and through a platform like Flexing It. So we find that consultants are very particular. And also we are very particular. So I think based on all of this, the fact that we focus on mid to senior professionals, the fact that we curate, that I think gives a lot of comfort to the clients that, and then of course it's the real experience. When you try out, and that's what we find, that companies, usually large companies, will do a pilot first with 4 or 5 projects, maybe not so strategic. And then once they realize, okay, they're getting value, they're getting really high quality talent, and it's working well, then they expand the scope and they start doing more and more strategic stuff. And then of course, interestingly, we find that independent consultants actually care more about confidentiality and ownership than employees do. Because, the next project will come only if you do a bang up job on this.
So true.
An employee can coast a lot more, consultants will not do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of your future business depends on how you deliver this
absolutely.
one. Absolutely. So your next paycheck is not certain, right? So it's a risk. It's too big a risk to take.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Yeah.
Right. So a couple of questions on the SCM domain. I think supply chain management is there. What is the scene there? So it's very specific questions on that.
Oh, right now there's a lot of demand for supply chain management because everything has been disrupted. So we are finding there's demand from the newer age, more technology-driven logistics and supply chain companies, because they are looking for people who are experienced for many years in having done it to help advise them on, they might have the technology, but they don't have the know-how on the how supply chain works, how trucking works, or depending on what the mode of transport you're talking about. But even larger companies, supply chains have been disrupted. Even pre-COVID, there was huge demand because they were being challenged by the online startups, whether it's on terms of the commerce or logistics. And now there's that plus their own supply chain has been disrupted and will continue to be disrupted. So actually, there's a lot of demand for supply chain professionals across industries, particularly in pharma and FMCG. Where, because in those two sectors, demand has come back with a vengeance. And they're struggling because all their plants are not running. The raw material supply is not, in place. Now with all of the concerns about China, a lot of them are having to rethink where are we sourcing from. So I think all the aspects of supply chain, all from procurement, how to secure supplies, not just save money, but also then how to get it to your customer, all in demand.
Yeah, great. I think Ashish, there's a lot of hope. Shilpa is asking, she's working as an implementation project manager or lead business analyst in a startup, but she lost her job. So, as a business analyst, what's it like?
So
I think you did answer this question, but
sorry.
You did answer this question saying business analysts there is quite a bit of demand, but she's asking for implementation project manager. She was an implementation project manager.
So I think overall, I would say for good project managers, there is always demand. Because that's a functional skill that is very valuable, and it's always in demand, whether it's a startup or a large company. And so, there are projects for high quality project managers.
But project managers who are consultants, does that work?
Yeah. So right now, in fact, with one of the big pharma companies, we've just deployed a project manager for 6 months. Who's going to be, because they have 10-15 initiatives that they want to implement across different stakeholders. They have an implementation plan, but they want someone to own the implementation. So they've actually asked for a overall project management office lead, as well as a couple of people who can also look at specific initiatives. So absolutely, it's in huge demand. And if it was a mega project, sometimes you would even get a big four team to come and do your project management. But a lot of companies are finding that getting high quality independent consultants could actually work very well, because they can work much more closely with your teams.
You have no clue how much of hope you're giving all of us here, Chandrika.
That's great. That's great.
So Harsh is asking, he's got a stable job, but can I also freelance on the side? I mean, how does that work? Will my employer object to it?
So I think the first question, I think you have to check with your employer. There are some employers who completely say no. So typically, if you're in a very technology-driven company and you're working on the tech or the R&D front, or if you're in consulting, those are typically not allowed. Many other companies actually do permit it, as long as you inform HR or your manager. So I think you will have to, I would suggest, check with your employer and look at your employee agreement to see what is permitted. Usually most companies will permit work that does not compete. So if you're working in a large corporate, helping a startup over the weekend, or helping an NGO, not a problem, but I think I would suggest, please check your employment agreement and speak with your HR, because certainly high quality companies who are looking to get you on board will want to know that, because people are also very careful, that they don't want to get consultants who are not allowed to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe that's a lafda, you don't want it all, right?
No, you don't want that. And most often with startups and, with NGOs and stuff, most companies do allow you to take on projects.
Okay. So tendering contracts management for large construction projects, are they even happening? Is there any demand there?
So currently, I think large construction, we've seen obviously not much happening. I think maybe 3 months down the line, they're going to have to restart. And infrastructure is a big focus for the country, so demand will come back for sure. But currently, as we know, most projects, because of the migrants having gone back because of the lockdown, there isn't that much activity currently, but it should come back soon.
Okay. So Nirmal is asking retail sales experience. So I have retail sales experience of over 10 years. I've not been a consultant or some business head, but retail sales experience. And do you think there are opportunities?
It depends on the sector. There are.
He's saying banking.
There are, because certainly like fintech, for instance, we've all been reading and seeing the buzz around fintech. There's a lot of startups, very well-funded startups, who are doing, whether it's lending, whether it's investments, and they're always looking for help. So there will be opportunities, I would say, primarily with startups. On this, we are also actually seeing demand from some of the larger corporates, because honestly they have a hiring freeze. but they're still having to do, like, so for instance, one of the large private sector banks is launching several new products, but they can't hire full time. So they are now hiring people for 6 months as consultants, and in very core roles like product and risk and compliance. And so, yes, there will be demand both from startups as well as from larger companies.
Great. I think that's amazing. It's 7:30. There's one last question that I have. I need you to take, because we're financial planners, and Mohini is a colleague financial planner, and she's asking this question that if we are looking at helping our clients become financially free or retire early, and I mean, obviously they don't want to retire like how we were saying, semi-retired people. So, and if they're even happy with their current jobs, but want to go independent at some point in time. Is it something that we can advise our clients to do? I mean, explore this. Is it something that we can confidently advise our clients, or is it something that should come from them? Is it? I mean,
my suggestion honestly would be it should come from them. Even we as a platform, our team, very clearly, we do not ever advise people to leave a job and become a consultant, because it has to be a choice that they have to make and that they have to be comfortable with, because it is riskier. What I basically tell everybody is, like, it's basically having your own business. That's what it is, because here the product is you and your knowledge and your services, and you have to make sure there's enough clients that you get through the course of the year so that you get enough revenue. You have to constantly think about reinventing yourself. So next 2-3 years, will I do more of the same? Will I consult in slightly different areas? So it is a business. You will have costs. You might have a small office. You'll spend on upskilling yourself. You'll spend on marketing. So so you have to have that comfort with, I'm going to be taking a risk, but at least till I establish myself. For that first couple of years, I mean, I will not have, unless I leave with the project in hand, I may not have a paycheck coming every month. Am I comfortable with it? So I think, and more and more people actually are making that choice because, of the confidence they have in their experience, in their abilities, and also how they want to live and how they want to work. But I think it has to come from them. My view is we should not, convince people to quit jobs.
Don't go out and recommend it if they are happy with their jobs, right?
Also, like marriage, it's very sticky. Should not recommend X should marry Y. I think it has to come from within.
Yeah, come from within. I think that was such an insightful conversation. I think there's one last question. Can we take it? Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, so there's just somebody saying thank you very much. Okay, so that's amazing. So thank you so much, Chandrika. It's been an hour of excellent conversations and great hope more than anything else when everything looks gloomy out there. You're saying there is opportunity in areas where disruption has happened, right? You don't know how it feels like when you hear something like that. When disruption has happened, you're anxious, but then you look at the other side and there is hope. So do you have a parting word for us, and then we're good?
No, I was going to say there definitely is opportunity. I think the last 3 months were a bit of pause because economic activity was frankly sucked out of the system. But things have restarted. Our old business models are going to look different in many ways. But whenever you have to rethink, there's opportunity. I think my one takeaway from all of this and from flexing it for the last 5 years is you do something with quality, it always pays off. Because particularly in times of uncertainty, there's flight to quality, there's flight to trust. So I think cutting corners, never a good idea. There's time, it's a time for disruption, but it's also going to be a time where, the networks you built, the IP and the knowledge you built over all of these years is going to stand you in very good stead.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think this has been one of our best Dil Se Expertise sessions. Thank you so much, Chandrika, for coming over, giving your time and giving all of us hope and courage. So, can you just repeat your website? So if people want to reach out, how can they reach out?
Absolutely. So our platform is www.flexingit.com.
Okay.
And my email ID.
I'll just type it out for everyone in the chat box. Flexingit.com, right?
And my email ID is chandrika@flexingit.com. In case anybody has, any questions, anything I can help with, please do reach out.
Okay, so Chandrika at flexingit.com, right?
That's
So
right.
that's how you reach out to Chandrika. And thank you
Absolutely.
everyone for being here, for asking very smart questions, and for being lovely audience. And thank you, Chandrika. Thank you really from the heart, from Dil Se, for being here and doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Bhuvana, for having me, and thank you, everybody. Look forward to interacting with some of you soon.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All
Bye-bye.
right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. See you.